Hi everybody, this is Ellen. In this tutorial I'm going to show you a couple things that you can do with the granny squares that you've been making. This is a granny box, I guess would be what it would be called. Or you can do, this is just a smaller version of it, but I attached the lid to it. Lots of different things. I did make a little top or lid for this, but I'm not totally sure if I like it yet. It could just be that it's not quite the right size or right stitching, or because I thought I'd do fancy first and I did a single crochet row around the top instead of just slip stitching it. So I don't know if it's just too big so it doesn't fit quite right, but not totally sure, but I'm working on that to see if I can improve it a little bit better. But I'm going to show you how to put these together basic way with slip stitches, which would be kind of equivalent to whip stitching in crochet. There are, of course, the different options that you can do. For making a box, and because we're using rubber bands, it does, we want it to be sturdy, so I would recommend using double banding as you make it. So like this is the regular granny square that I put out the first tutorial with just the single crochet stitching around it, and it'd be pretty flimsy if you wanted to do the boxes out of it. I think it would still work, but it would be it would not hold its shape quite as well as if you did double. I will show you how to make one of the squares, and then I'll show you how to slip stitch them together so that you can do that. And then there are, like I said, there's tons of options of things that you can do with this. You can add a lid to it. You could potentially slip stitch the whole thing closed and have just a little cube. But back to what I was saying with the how we're putting it together. In normal crochet, when we would put two squares together, we would put right sides together, so it'd be like, if I look at it, I didn't tuck any of my bands on the inside or on this side, so this would be a right side, and then like here's the wrong side because I got a band I tucked in. So right side, and then I'd find the other right side, and you'd put those together. And in normal crochet, we would do only back loops only, and it's kind of weird because back loops is actually be the front loop on one and the back loop on the other one. But then when we do a box with it, it does not fit together quite right. So to make the box, we actually have to go through both stitches when we do it. But if you're just going to stitch these together, I would just do the front and back across from each other, do the whip stitch. So, but we'll get started, and like I said, I'll first show you how to make one of these. It is the exact same way as in the other tutorial, but I'm just going to do it with double bands. Sometimes doubling the bands kind of makes it a little more difficult to see. So and the other thing is that I'll point out that these can also be awesomely cute little nesting boxes, because if you see, this box is only the center of this square. So I have mini size, and then next size up, which will fit in there, and then if I went a third row around that one, these would fit into that other box as well. So you can make some super cute little toys, little building blocks if you close them off completely. Tons of different options for kind of different things to do with them. So we'll get started, and I'll show you how to make one of the squares. And then of course, if you're going to make a cube of sorts, you need 6 of them for an entire cube, or 5 if you just want an open box, or 6 if you want something with a lid. But that will be up to you. So we'll get started with the first one. So double banding, so everything will be double banded except for the slip stitch we used to close the rounds. But so we want the 2 bands on our hook, wrap it around into that figure 8 or just a cat band, and take up and chain 2. And I'm going to not use the take 2 bands up, because then it'll mess up when I go chain 2. That will kind of be confusing because they're pulling up 2 bands, so it's like, oh, is that a chain 2? But it's not. So I'm just going to say, count these all as, I'm just going to call them a band, but we're using 2 when we pull stuff up. So chain 2. So that's 1 and 2, like that. Go back into the center, pull up another band, both ends on the hook, and pull 2 bands or a band through everything. So that is the equivalent of 2 single crochets. Then we're going to chain 1, so pull a band through everything, back on your hook, then go back into the center, pull up a band, back on your hook, and pull a band through everything. Like that. And go back into the center, pull up a band on your hook, and pull a band through everything. So that is 2 more single crochets. Then we're going to chain 1, go back into our center, pull up a band on the hook, pull a band through everything, back into the center, pull up a band, pull a band through everything. So that is now another set of single crochets. Do another chain, and go back into the center, pull up a band, then pull a band through everything, back into the center, pull up a band, and pull a band through everything, and do another chain 1, so now you should have 4 sets of 2 single crochets. So I'm going to go find the top of the last, or the first stitch, right here. And then pull a band, 1 band, through everything on your hook for a slip stitch. So now you should have a nice little thing that looks like a square. With the double banding, I guess I should say, it is kind of band heavy doing it this way, but of course they should last a while if they're taken care of. So it'd be 44 plus 1 for the first round, and then the second round would be 72 plus 1 for the second round. The slip stitching is, I think in total I used around 144 for this, so it can add up, but I think they're super cute and worth the time. So once we have this, I'm just going to try and secure this in as I go. But I'm going to find that chain without undoing my knot. Find that chain that's in between. We have 2 single crochets, and then we have 2 more single crochets. So there's a chain in there. Put your hook through there. Then you're going to pull up our chain 2. So 1 and 2. Go back into that corner, into that chain spot. Pull up 1 band. And pull a band through everything. Then we're going to chain 1. Then go back into the corner again, pull up a band, and pull a band through everything. Back into the corner, pull up a band, and pull a band through everything. So it's like this now, 2 single crochets, a chain 1, and 2 single crochets. Now, in the normal pattern, I do a chain right here in between the corner and the next corner. I did make some without that chain right there, and they did come up a little bit tighter, so you can see that they are a little bit smaller as well too. So you can try skipping this chain that I'm going to show you right now, or you can just leave it in there. You know, just kind of doing little things that might make your pattern something that you like is always a good option. And I'm actually going to use these to stitch together, so. But this is an extra one for a different project. So I'm going to chain 1 now. And then we'll find that next chain 1 corner, stick our hook in through there, pull up a band, and pull a band through everything. And go back into that corner, pull up a band, and pull a band through everything. And then we're going to chain 1. This one you want to keep. Don't get rid of this one because this one gives it the corners, the boxy effect. And then go back into that corner, pull up a band, and pull a band through everything. Back in, another single crochet, so pull up a band on the hook, then pull a band through everything. Then we'll do that chain 1. This is the one you can skip. Find the next corner, that next chain spot in there, pull up a band, pull a band through everything, back in, pull up a band, pull a band through everything, chain 1, back in, pull up a band, pull a band through everything, and one more time in this corner, pull up a band, then pull a band through everything, so it's like this now. Then do that chain 1 if you want. Find that last chain spot in the corner, go in through there, do 2 single crochets, so pull up a band on the hook, pull a band through everything, back in the corner for the second single crochet, pull up a band, band through everything, then do a chain 1, then back in the corner for 2 more single crochets, so pull up a band, Pull a band through everything. And one more time. Pull up a band. And then pull a band through everything. And then chain one. So like that. Now I'll find the last stitch here, or the first stitch, go in through the top, and pull a band through for a slip knot. So now, because it's double banded, it might take a little bit more to get the shape, like if it's mine's kind of wonky. But I need to pull the corners a little bit, stretch things out, get it to kind of have the better square shape. Rubber bands aren't always the most forgiving for getting the shapes that you want. And then of course, if you're doing these squares, you're going to want to tuck in your tails. So I have the other one on this side. So I'm going to pull this one over. So my other one's buried on this side, so I'll bury this one too. I'm just going to hide it through the stitches. And if it's on the inside of your box, it's not going to really show, so. I do have a real issue with how it closes with a slip stitch right here, but as long as you still can see your stitches across, then you're fine. Like that. So you should have corner, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the other corner. You can see that. It's a little harder to see sometimes by where we slip stitch closed. This will get kind of squished when we do the whip stitch or the slip stitch for the sides. So, but 1 for the corner, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the other corner. So once you have all of your squares made, you want to put them together. And I would recommend either, I did this one in white because sometimes it's really neat to have the decorative edging on it, but if you're kind of unsure about how it's going to look or worried about that it might not be how you want it to be, I would recommend using the same color that you've used for the last row, just because it will hide better, especially if you're doing if you're sewing together these. I would use the same color as your outside border, just so that it would hide better. Because if you do sew these together, well, this is not this is a bigger one. It's the one I have right by me, but if I was going to sew these together, kind of for like a blanket or something like that, I'd be going across, picking up the first half of a stitch on one side, and then picking up the back half on the other side, and then pulling a band through on my hook, slip stitch, and then you just keep repeating that. Take a band, pull it through everything, on the hook, slip stitch. So I'll kind of turn this around now. So if you're putting these together for a blanket of sorts, you can see the stitching inside if it gets pulled apart a little bit. Once they're all connected together, then they're pretty tight together. But if you do it the other way, like we're going to do for the box, I'm just going to go in through, I'll come up here a little bit. I'm going to go in through both stitches on one side and both stitches on the other side. Pull a band through, slip stitch it, go in through the next one, both loops, pull the band through everything, slip stitch. I'm going to do one more just so you can see better. I'm purposely going a little fast through this part just so that I can, I'm more showing you when we do the box, but I just want you to see the difference. So, you see here, if I go through both loops, we get the band across the front. So you would see that on the front side if you're connecting them together. Whereas if you do just the loops I showed you, kind of if you're holding them in your hand, the front loop on one side and the back loop on the other side, then you wouldn't see it on the front as they go together. So it just kind of different ways. For the box, it squares out better if we do through both loops as far as getting the edges, but not if we do it the other way with just the back loops, which is kind of how I normally would do it in crochet. It doesn't fit together right on the sides, so I thought it would, or it should, but I guess it doesn't, so we had to go with both loops. But that's the difference for those of you that can see that. So, the box. You will need all your squares. I'll show you here. This one has the extra single crochet on the edge, and this one doesn't. So it's just a tiny difference. I think it's the bands for this actually, between the two different, they're different brands. So that makes a difference as well. These were all Wonder Loom, or these are Rainbow Loom, and these are Wonder Loom, so. But we want the same stitches, the same squares. So you want 6 of them if you're going to do a full box, which I am going to show you. I'm going to stitch it same way as this one. And I want to point out too that it's actually kind of a lot difficult to do at the end, but if you take this, I've made, like I've shown you, the cube here with the top missing, but I did make one which my child has run off with and I can't find it. She's good at hiding things. But if we turn it inside out, and actually once I had this last square in here, it's actually a really neat little ball. It doesn't, it won't square up when you flip it inside out. So you get a ball, or even just a little kind of rounded vase, which I think is really super pretty too. So, but like I said, if you have to put the top on to make it kind of the ball form, but I thought I'd point that out for those of you that like that option. Then you can see the stitching that I talked about that comes around the outside with the way we put this together. So, but we work on this side. These are the parts that we're going to see. So I talked about it a little bit before. You want to find, generally you want to find your right sides and put them together, although it's not really super important, because if you have a band, like if I put this one together and this little hanging off band is on the wrong side, I can just move it to pull it to the back, so it's not a super big deal. But you just want to put them together so that you have them lined up, and then identify your stitches across so that you can see where you're going at. So here's our corner, although I want both of them. So my corner, and then as they go across. This will also tell you if you have any stitches that you kind of missed, and which isn't a huge deal. You can just kind of fudge it and go into the next one if you have, like if I have an extra stitch. Like if I use the other square that I made, where I put in that extra chain, I can just, they won't line up, I'll have an extra stitch in here. You can just fudge it and fix it. I mean, it's not, we do it in crochet all the time, you know. Counting stitches when you're going can be a little difficult at times, so. But how we're going to do this is by taking our hook, we're going to start in the corner first and go through both bands in the corner, go through both bands in the other corner, then take your band, I'm just going to use white so you can see it, take a band, pull it through everything, put it on your hook, and then do a slip stitch. Then go in through the next double loops on both sides. Take another band, pull it through everything on your hook, including that last slip stitch we did. Put both ends on the hook, then do a slip stitch. Then again, next spot, make sure you get all the bands. And pull a band through everything on your hook, both ends on, slip stitch, next spot up, pull a band through everything, on the hook, slip stitch, next spot up, take a band through everything, both ends on the hook, and slip stitch. Then go through the other corner on the other side, or kind of, well, it's the corner, so it's not really on a side. Go through there, take a band, pull it through everything on your hook, back on, and then I pull this one a little bit tighter because I'm just going to leave it there. So that is one connection on the side. Now if we're putting this together, I think I did no. So then you would find your next square. This is technically a right side, if that, like I said, if that matters to you. You'd find your next right side, put those together, see your stitches and kind of line them up. And it looks like I actually have an extra one here, so good. I get to show you how to fudge one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then up in the corners 6. So I'm going to start in the corner. I think I might have grabbed my other square. In the corner first, pull a band through on the hook, slip stitch, go in through the next spot, next stitch, pull a band through everything, find your next spot, pull a band through everything, on the hook, slip stitch, so now I can tell that, twist this around a little bit, we have my corner, which is right here. Here's my other kind of corner band. And I have 1, 2, and then right here, it's kind of, this is where it's connected. You know, what I talked about earlier with how it's hard to kind of get rid of that mess right there. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to probably skip this stitch when I do the connecting together. So this back on my hook. So I'll go under this little spot here. Pull the band up through everything, do that slip stitch, and then I'm going to skip this kind of little one that's hiding there, go in through the next one, do that slip stitch, then get in that corner. I know it seems silly to show you that, but it's instead of just kind of editing it out of the tutorial, but things happen. Bands look funny. They're hard to see sometimes, so you have to deal with it. And instead of redoing the entire square, you just have to fix it. So if you can see, sometimes you get little bands. It's just from pulling too tight on previous when you're going around. So you can just kind of snag these to get it to be a tighter look. So then we're going to do that again. We're getting closer to when we can start kind of connecting the rest of this. So again, line them up, see your stitches across This time I have the right number, thankfully, so it must have just been where I closed. I goofed it, but... So find that corner. Pull a band through. Do that slip stitch. Go into the next spot over. Pull a band through everything. On the hook, slip stitch, next spot over, pull a band through everything, on the hook, slip stitch, next one over, pull a band through everything, try not to snag stuff, on the hook, slip stitch, next one over, pull a band through, slip stitch, and then the corner again, pull a band through everything, slip stitch, and like I said, I'm going to make this last one a little bit tighter, just so it'll stay together. So we have just now a long row, basically, of connecting things. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the second one down or so. Doesn't really matter a whole lot. But we're going to kind of stitch around. So to connect the bottoms, find that corner from this previous one. Find the corner from the one you're putting on. And you kind of line them up, see if your stitches are good, or if you have to plan ahead to get rid of a goof. Take a band, pull it through everything, slip stitch, next spot over, pull a band through everything, slip stitch. So it's the same pattern around. The corners are kind of where it gets a little bit tricky, because you're like, oh, I already have a stitch in there, so do I need to put another one in? But it's just basically every corner is going to end up getting a stitch from. So this one right here on the top, it's got a stitch from this square and from this square, and then there will be these two squares will be stitched together as well. We'll go in through the corner again. So it'll kind of look like there's 4 stitches in the corner. So that'll keep them nice and tight. Finish this one to the corner. I'm doing a lot of talking in this tutorial, and I'm hoping I'm not too all over the place. I'm trying not to be, but there are just so many different things you can do with these that trying to kind of mention a lot of them so you have options of things to do. So again, here's that corner, and it looks like I already went through before, but we're going to go through again for this square as well. So pull it through on the hook. So now we have kind of the, I remember being kids, or a lot of you might be kids, this is kind of like the standard making a box diagram, cut it out and then put it all together. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take we're going to come around this side now. So there are no more just kind of adding squares right now. We're going to come around, make sure to go in that corner again. Pull a band through everything. Both ends on the hook, slip stitch. Then we'll slip stitch all the way to the end, like we have been doing. I'm only using single bands for the slip stitch because I think it kind of one, it's not quite so bulky and you're not using as many bands, but also because it's more kind of delicate, I guess. So there's that, and one more in the corner. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to stop here. And we're actually going to come back the corner over here and come back around to this point. Then we'll kind of snag this one and then go up. I'll show you where I snagged it on this one. You can see it's a little bit bulkier there, but with the different where they connected, but I think it looks alright. And there's always a front and a back side to everything. So we're going to come back to this corner back over here, find the corners. There will already be stitches through them. You're going to pull those bands through, both ends on the hook, slip knot, or slip stitch, and just do that basically until we meet up with the other corner. Gotta make sure. Didn't have any more goofs. It's actually pretty good if I only have one goof. Then we want that corner again. I'm going to go through the corner on the square we're working on, so across from each other. Like that. And then as we come around this side, for the next go around here, you're going to go into that corner again and do the one across from that corner. Pull the band through everything. Then just slip stitch to this corner over here. Then we're in the corner, so make sure to do the corner across from the one you're working on first. And now I'm going to snag this other one, that tail from before. Now we're going to sew up to the top of the box. So I'm going to go back into the corner across from each other for this side of the squares. Take a band, pull it through everything, and do that slip stitch. It looks pretty good that way, so. And just keep going to the top. Starting to get cold now, so the furnace is on the other side of my craft room, so it's going to be kicking in again. Hoping it's not going to be too annoying. I can already hear my son and daughters, their lullaby machines going, so I feel like I'm always competing with them, although they're pretty distant on tutorials and the sound. But thankfully. Alright, so here's that last corner. Like that. So now we have you just want the box. You have that. Might have to do a little squishing to get it to get the sides to all be the way you want them to. But I think it turns out pretty good without a whole lot of work to it. And then it really would depend on how you want to do the top edge, or if you want to close this off. For this, I did a single crochet edge just to kind of give it a little bit of extra kind of voila, I guess. And because I plan to actually close this one off completely into a cube, which I'm going to see if I can still flip into a ball, I will show you real quick the edge of this. Would have been my top if I would have liked it a little bit better, but I'll show you the edge real quick on how I would do a single crochet on the edge of this. So it's the same thing, it's the same banding around. So, but you just take your hook, you would stick it in a corner somewhere. You're just basically going to hit every stitch around until the end and then tie it off. So go in through one, pull up one band, and pull up another one. So a chain 2, then go in through the next stitch over, pull up a band, and then pull a band through everything, or not. Pull a band through everything, back on your hook. So that's a 1 single crochet, and you just keep repeating that, or actually 2 single crochets, because the chain 2 counts as 1. But so you go in through the next stitch, pull up a band, and take a band through everything. So there's 3, and you just keep repeating that all the way around on every stitch. You don't have to double up in corners or anything like that, you just have to get into every stitch. Or you can just do the slip stitch around. So you go in through, you want to do a slip stitch so it's not quite so large as this one. Just pull up a band, do that slip knot, go in through the next one, pull up a band through everything, back through, and then just keep doing that all the way around, just the same way we connected the rest of it. So you'd have like kind of a little border on it, so it's kind of up to you which one you like better. If you want, you can just leave it like this. For the tails that stick up, because obviously it's kind of an eyesore, you can actually turn this inside out, as long as you're not planning to, if you're planning to use this side, then this won't work. You'll have to tuck them in on this side. But if you want to have the decorative edging out, I would turn it around the other way. Go up through a few of these stitches, grab your tail, and just pull it down through them. Like that. So it would hide pretty well on your edge. So that'd be a way to close it. Like I said, I'm going to close this into a box so I can flip it inside out for the little ball again, so I have my box and my ball. So I don't really need to hide my tails as of yet, because I can add them in while I go around. You'll just have to loosen up that, not that loose, loosen up the stitch so that it's not super tight and looks weird when you're going around. But it's the same process. I'm going to go all the way around 3 sides, and then on the last side I will come back and show you how I'm going to close that, because I have to flip it inside out, and I want the same kind of stitches on both sides, so but I'm going to go around and finish this completely on these 3 sides. And I'll probably fast forward through that because it is the exact same stuff that we're doing through here. Or I just won't talk as much, I guess might be the better, or the other option. So we'll line them up and start going. Oops. Starting. Look at that. Snag that last one. Maybe I better not fast forward, in case I remember more things I should mention that might be helpful. Snag that. And the fact that I am turning this inside out, I really don't even have to worry about the little messes or the tails here, that I can pull the stitches a little loose. Let me get my hook out of there first. But if you want to have the block, then obviously you don't want these to be all poked out. So I got to another corner. I need to make sure to snag that other one, the other tail, before doing the stitch. I'm going to go all the way to the end. And then come around one more on that corner again. Basically, you can go over as far as you think that you will need to be able to flip this inside out if you're going to do the ball. If you're not going to do the ball, and if you want to just have a cube, then you would just finish to the end, then do a tight slip knot here, and then pull the tail inside, and you would have a pretty sweet looking cube. I had thought like this one, if I would have made it into a cube, that kids could play a nice little color game with it. Throw it down and play something with it. So, let's see. So now I'm going to turn this inside out. So I want to make sure this is tight. I'm going to loosen up this stitch just because I want to. So I'm going to turn this inside out. To make it into a ball. I actually think this is really fabulous that it works out like this, because obviously doing a normal cube, if you turn it inside out, it's still a cube, but if you do it this way with the rubber bands and stuff, that it stays being or it goes to being a ball instead, which would normally take a different kind of crochet square. So what we're going to do is I'm going to snag that little band again from before on the inside on my hook. I'm going to come up from the inside into the next stitch, pull a band through everything on my hook, and now I'm hanging on to both. I'm going to go into the stitch from the inside on the other side, snag that band that I pulled up, try not to lose it, try it again. It's a little awkward, but luckily it's only a few stitches, so snag that band, pull it through, then do a slip stitch like that. So I have this on my hook still. I'm going to go in through from the inside to the outside, grab a band, pull it through everything on my hook. I'll keeping on hanging onto this band, go in through the other side, grab that band, pull it through everything on my hook. And again, pull a band through everything, come up through the other side, pull a band down, and then we have, looks like a goofy corner that I have an extra band in. So coming up from the inside, pull a band through everything, come on the other side, snag that stitch from the inside, and pull that band through, and do a slip knot. So now I have a pretty sweet ball. Then with the tail, it's a little tricky because you don't want it to show, and you don't want it to be loose. This might benefit from a little bit of stuffing, but I don't like stuffing things. I don't like messing with the extra fluff and stuff like that. I'm just going to take a band, or take my hook and stick it through these bands on the side here. And I'm going to take this tail and pull it through as far as I can go, like that. And I'm going to come up from somewhere, other side or something, grab that tail and pull it down. Because what it'll do is it'll hide on the other side of the slip stitches. So pretty sweet. Nice little ball. So how do you like that? You can get a awesome little box, which if I put the top on this, it would be a nice little cube. Or if you flip it inside out, you can have a nice little ball. If you have any goofy bumps on the ball, you just have to figure them out. But I think it's pretty sweet this way. And then of course, if you just flip this over and around, you have a nice little kind of rounded vase or a hat. So many possibilities. Obviously this whole kind of tutorial about what you can do with the granny square, haven't even really touched the surface of what you could do because there are so many possibilities. Hopefully you'll kind of be able to see some of the things that you can do with it on your own. Definitely, there's just so many things. It's very versatile, and that's why there's so many different styles of granny squares, is because they are so versatile, and change something a little bit, and then all of a sudden you have something brand new and neat little design to make. So I'll work on the lid. I don't know. Wasn't too happy with how it turned out, but maybe just because it's kind of concave, but I think they're super cute. Hopefully you'll be able to kind of figure out some things that you can do with them now, connecting them. I've seen a lot of people putting them together into like little blankets and placemats and stuff, and they're super cute. The colors that people have been using are amazing. Love the fruit fly. Never forget to wash your fruit when you come home from the store. So many different things. But there's so many different things, and I mean the possibilities are endless on the types of things that you can do. Even just the clothes or things like that for little outfits like for my Hello Kitty. I thought the granny squares would look cute on her. Of course that would be single-banded, would be better, but I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that it gives you some ideas of things that you can do. Definitely let me see them. If you make anything, you can share them with me on my Instagram, which is at Crafting Fantastic, or on my Facebook page, which is at Crafting Fantastic, or feelinspiffy. There is a link underneath the video, which I finally made into a hot link. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that it wasn't. And then, of course, subscribing to my channel so you can see when I come out with some new ideas would be fabulous. I would definitely appreciate that. But thank you again, and I hope to have more for you soon.